Alright, and welcome back to Don't Think, Just Paint. If you've watched this video for any amount of time, you will know that I bloody love Aeldari, Drukhari, Harlequins, everything that comes along with them. I love their lore, I love their abilities, the whole kind of highly psychic race that was destined to have this fall, the birth of Slaanesh, all this kind of awesome stuff. As such, I love me some Phoenix Lords. The lore around those guys are really cool. They basically were warriors that were the first disciples to kind of come up with this new path system at the time of the fall. They kind of basically are just ghosts that inhabit the armour. Anytime they would die, the armour just sits there and the next warrior to put them on kind of becomes that Phoenix Lord. So it's a really cool thing of they just have this accumulated knowledge of the centuries. It is awesome. You may have seen before that I did a video on RTLW's Fire Drake Prime. That is kind of their interpretation of Fuegan, the Phoenix Lord of the Fire Dragons, and I absolutely love that guy. So I was in the shop recently and I just couldn't resist getting my hands on Baharroth. He is said to be one of the best pupils of Azarman, the teacher's pet, and he favoured lightning strikes, devastating strikes, before darting away and then doing another one in the next place. As always, I would rather come up with my own colour scheme than stick to the box art one that I can use some cool colours that also work well with my current craft world colours, fit those on the mini, make it all go in with my craft world. While I was pondering that, I was trying to think of points of inspiration, and I was thinking of the sky and birds and clouds. And I think clouds are quite cool because there's that wraithbone texture some people do anyway, where it's all stippled and stuff, and you can use sponges to kind of get that effect. So I was thinking that, but clouds themselves are boring. So what about angry clouds? You know, dark, grey, black clouds with lightning streaks. And I think that's a really awesome little bit of thing because I can make his armor really dark and stipply texture, and then I can, give his sword, his wings, kind of the bright white with kind of blue glow, that kind of thing. So that's a good starting point. Should we just get started? I start with the Zenithal Prime, which means priming black or a dark colour, then spraying white from above to get some natural looking highlights. From there, I want to darken it right down, so I grab some Black Templar. I'm not too sure which bit will be which colour yet. If you came here for a well thought out and planned out colour scheme, then ha! I say, ha! So I'm covering everything just to get this colour out and uniformly, and I can go over the bits I want different colours later on. I love the quick effects you can get with a Zenithal Prime and a contrast paint. It already looks quite cool in terms of how the colours are all acting together. So let's do that cloudy effect first then. That's the main theme of this paint scheme. So I grab a sponge and I'm going to start with Storm Vermin Fur and kind of stipple it all over. Okay, I've started a bit too thick, I think. I'm getting a real solid pattern and I want it to build up over time. So what I'm going to do is water that down a bit more and just do a few more layers. After that, I'll mix some Stonewall Grey in and then do another layer after that with just Stonewall Grey. I finish this part off with some thinned down Trooper White, carefully towards the uppermost areas and the edges. It's not perfect. I'll probably have to come back to this later, but it's an okay start point for now. Right, there is one thing I know about this paint scheme, and that's that the feathers of the wings and the sword need to be a kind of lightning-y colour, so white with just a blue glow. I base the wings with Cantor Blue, trying to keep in mind that I want the thickest part of the wings to have some kind of non-metallic metal sheen. I keep this in mind as I use Calador Sky, Lothan Blue and Sky Blue to move up the values. I'm not worrying about blending right now as I can come back with mixes and glazing. For now, we're just trying to get all the colours in place and get the idea of that shiny look without needing to go too much into it. Okay, that's not looking too bad. Those are the basic colours down. I do want to see how the colours are working together before finishing any one part. That's why I do sometimes go back and forth and the video can end up a little bit messy. Hey, this is the epitome of the don't think, just paint method. While Lothan Blue was out, I did that banner on his gun, and those feathers are just made to be the most vibrant colour, so I throw down some Doomfire Magenta on the central one and Alien Purple on the side ones. The blade's going to be lightning blue, but I want this to look much brighter, so I kind of do this in the reverse way to the wings. Next in my journey of getting all the base colours down, the weapon hilts and the kind of functional, technical parts are always Ulthuan Grey on my Eldar, so I get this down. Right, now I want to try this simple effect on the blade. I did this on some Howling Banshees with yellow to make it look like their blades were so hot you could kind of barely see the colour, just like white hot with that like very slight yellowy glow, and it looked pretty awesome. So I'm going to start glazing sky blue onto the blade, avoiding the edges. The paint is super thinned and I make sure my brush stroke starts where the colour transition happens, as less paint is deposited here. It's quite slow, as it's quite hard not to get the glaze to show up watermarks over the pure white, but remember with this kind of iterative process you can always go back to your other colour and glaze it a bit back. Once I'm more or less happy with this, I'm going to add in some Lothan Blue, super thin now, just to darken some areas. I'm not sure if the simplicity of these colours looks cool or maybe just a bit boring. I am okay with it for now, but let's just see how it feels once a bit more of it's done, shall we? Next, onto some of the softer, like fabric-y parts, the gun banner, the armband thing, and the dick cloth. I might do a little lightning motif there too, so I glazed some Caledor Sky into the shadow areas of that. Nothing crazy here, just a little bit of shading on the downward facing areas and recesses. Then I'll finish off with some edge highlighting with sky blue. This process is such a mess. Does anyone else do this? I feel like all my favourite YouTubers just do their parts A to B to C and it looks really clean. Or are they just lying to us and showing it off in a way that makes it really easy to read? Well, not here. Things are never going to be easy to watch on Don't Think Just Paint. Anyway, now I want to fix some of that armour. It's kind of looking a bit meh. So I use Null Noil. This is also good for those grey equipment type bits because Null Noil is so weak, it's actually okay for shading lighter colours. So now I'm getting back to the wings. Other stuff is kind of getting there and these still just look like a child dunked them in paint. First thing I'll do is bring up the whitest white with a bit of glazing. I'm liking where the shiny parts are, so I'm just going to work to accentuate that stuff now. Using my previous colours, I go back and forth, using mixes and glazing to smooth out transitions. Because this is such a back and forth process, I get ideas about how it's looking and I can adjust it as I go. For example, at one point the white was quite a big area, so I decided to just take that down. After getting the overall sheen, I also felt like the feathers should be darker where they overlap, so I bring those parts back down into the blue tones as well. Some edge highlighting as I go also help things get into perspective. Remember, edge highlighting doesn't have to be done in one neat way either. Especially in something like this where I'm subtly changing the colours, I know I can do edge highlighting quite thick early on and then blend it back as I go with all my glaze layers. Right, these colours are fine, but I think there's a little something missing. Baharroth has a cool eagle symbol that I've neglected, and I think I need a bit more of my Craftwell pink on there, so I'll use white to get that ready for a dousing in Doomfire Magenta. I follow this up with a dousing of Doomfire Magenta. That added such a cool balance to the colour scheme. Looks so nice now. Now, that gun banner, what do I do with that? I used Drakenhof Nightshade to shade it because I'm thinking dark blue would probably look cooler with a stylized lightning design. I do the same to the armband and the dick towel, although I'm starting to feel there's a bit too much blue. The original idea was for it to be kind of like a cloudy with just those streaks of whitish blue, not just a load of sky blue that's going to look a bit bland and boring. We'll have to keep an eye on that and come back to it. I've got an idea that may do some good shit. Taking that lightning motif a step along, I'll start painting energy crackling all across those wings. I thin down some white and use a brush with a good point and just take my time painting wiggles all across those feathers. After this, I think the lightning could show up some more, so now I'll darken down the non-lightning parts and also make those lines look thinner and more intricate. Using the different shades of the blue from before, I just come in with neat little glazes to accomplish this. These kind of techniques are more about making use of negative space. If you have something intricate to paint, instead of thinking you have to get that right, just think I can paint out the parts that overspilled with the background colour. It makes that kind of painting a whole lot less intimidating. Once this is done, I come back in with white and put some dots where the lightning meets the other lightning or the edge of a feather. I am pretty happy with those now. I may even be ready to call them done. I shade some of the deeper recesses in the pinks and purples with Drakenhof Nightshade for some visual interest, feathering out with a clean brush where necessary, then using Neopink, I add in some highlights. Adding in just a tiny bit of white to the neon pink, I just do a few little dots on the edges of the feather. I do a similar thing with alien purple on the purples, getting that cool definition. Now, this damn armour is still feeling a bit flat, and I need more cloudy texture. So I grab Black Templar and I'm very carefully stippling it into the recesses. This is targeted to add the definition, not just all over, although the contrast part does mean it'll help me out by acting more like a shade. I work more contrast doing the exact opposite with watered down Stonewall Grey. I still put this over a few passes, building up the highlights on the upper areas and edges. This is kind of what I'm doing for my edge highlighting as well, building it up in rough, dotty patterns so it carries it on. I am still absolutely perplexed by these cloth parts. Do I want them there or should I change them? Is there just too much mid-tone blue on this angry cloud? I'm trying the lightning pattern, but I'm not feeling it, to be honest. It's okay, but there's like plenty of cool stuff going on with the wings already. Okay, I think I've decided that blue isn't working. I grabbed turquoise, the other colour of my main Aeldari force, and use that. It's similar enough to the blue before that it almost feels pointless, but it does shift it just enough that now the blues of the wings and the sword are more distinct. After a Drakenhof Nightshade wash, I paint on a few stripes. Yeah, I'm much happier with it now. I feel like those did need to be different. I do my gems, which I have talked about plenty of times, but basically you want to shade and highlight the opposite way round to how you would with a normal domed surface. So shadows on the top, highlights on the bottom, then a big dot of white to give it the appearance of a shine. Now, I did some stuff as finishing touches that I didn't get on camera. Mostly because I was just experimenting and I wasn't sure if I'd keep them anyway, so I couldn't be asked to set up the camera. But I did end up using those, so to make up for it, here's a video of my cat being cute while I tell you about the last bits. So I did the basing, but I also wasn't sure about that sword, so I darkened it down and added more jagged lightning style energy, and that was much better. I also repeated the stippling steps for the armour to add to the contrast, darkening those shade areas, lightening the edges and tops. And there we go, that's it, done. My Phoenix Lord collection continues and I'm so excited. I've already got Jane Zar, my favourite of the Phoenix Lord, and this will be done soon. If you want to see this, then let me know. I would love to do a video, so as long as there's a little bit of interest, then just say the word and this will be straight into your eyeballs sometime soon. As always, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. It means a lot to me that you are here on this journey. If you would like to support this channel, then check out Patreon and YouTube members. That will help me grow the operation to be a little bit more efficient, a little bit more regular, and we can do some stuff there. Also, if you just wanted to do a one-off thing, coffee is good for that. Otherwise, totally understand if you don't want to do anything monetary. You can just share, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It all really helps, more than you even know. Otherwise, I think we're done here, so... Okay, bye, love you.